Hello, Bl'Artagnan here, with another edition of the Exdeath Saga through Lufenia. This will be probably my last run of the Italian Lost chapter, and cannot say I'm sorry about that, because these snails have been just a slog to fight. They're not even dangerous, they're just annoying. Remember that I said that, because it's going to come back to bite me later in the fight. So we have Exdeath here, and I actually did clear this with Krile and Exdeath, but it took forever, and it wasn't very exciting, so I thought it was going to make for a really boring video. I thought I'd try a somewhat more active team with some characters I enjoy using a bit more. So we have Krile here, supporting Squall, who's, here to bring some excellent damage and hopefully make this fight go a little bit faster. Krile and Exdeath actually pair pretty well, specifically because Krile has so much battery and Exdeath has so much attack down that they can keep the team pretty darn safe. Later in the fight, as the enemy stack growth outpaces Exdeath's attack down, it becomes a bit dodgier. But at least early in the fight, it does a pretty good job of keeping us pretty safe from breaks and scary situations. Off-turn damage is quite good against these guys because they take so many turns thanks to their built-in delay mechanic. They also gain a lot of Brave when they go in their shell, so you need some way to either shave them down or counter it. Arciella, Exdeath, the Bronth, instant breaks, things like that can all work wonders there. Poisons too, if you can get enough of them all working together. But one character's poison usually isn't going to be enough to completely save you from it. Another method you can use to deal with it is stuff like Exdeath's EX buff. Power from the Void protects you from the big hit that they try to do, and then that wastes their big hit. Squall, meanwhile, is doing some fantastic, shell smashing here. The fact that Krile is unbreakable is also quite useful here, just because so much of the threat from these guys come from, if not those Brave gains, then from them getting a break that, like, for instance, their AoE Brave attack delays if it breaks, and so things like that. That's kind of how they try to threaten you. So having a character who's straight up unbreakable really kind of takes a bit of the pressure off there. I like using Krile's skill 1 to charge your EX, which is kind of the normal Krile thing, but here it's also kind of useful because you can use it to protect the party because it's no longer instant turn rate because of the delay mechanic. Which is kind of interesting. Now here I was kind of nervous about being broken, so I ended up just Brave attacking with Squall. Since we're relying on Squall for a decent amount of damage, I didn't really want him being sent back a whole bunch of turns. There's not too much to say at this point. I'm not a fan of how their turns are stacking up like that, but I'm pretty confident that thanks to Power of the Void, we're not really in any danger there. So here, they took 3 turns in a row and basically did nothing, which is comforting. All they really did was take some damage from Exdeath's poisons. Go ahead and get Squall up to 3 stacks. something I didn't really count on was by this point, I hadn't realized how much damage they were doing with their Brave attacks. Part of this was because of that Gladiolus run, and the run before that I tried running Exdeath along with Gabronth, which was hilarious because they hit for ones. Ended up just missing the turn count there. And I bet it could be done with light, tighter execution, but I don't have another 45 minutes to devote to this sort of thing. That's not the greatest launch there. At this point, I'm trying to figure out, the Maelstrom debuff has fallen off, and I was considering bringing an Emperor just because, we'd have the room for his full EX trap debuffs and stuff, but it didn't feel quite like the right moment. In hindsight, maybe it would have worked out okay. But I wanted to kind of wait until they're a bit lower, preferably below 50, so we could try to counter their Brave reduction with Emperor's Burst effect. Now we got Krile's trap set up. We have Exdeath reapplying all of his poisons. And as you can see, these guys are hitting harder than I really expected them to. I kind of figured that Exdeath's usual kind of attack down plus his sap would keep him safe, but they ended up breaking him, which kind of put me on a bit of a back foot. So here I'm trying to set up for some kind of big dramatic sequence with Squall and Emperor. Go ahead and get Squall pushed back, and he jumped forward. Well, that's exactly how we wanted this to play out now, isn't it? Take advantage of the paralysis. It was really the entire point of me coming back into this with this team after kind of getting the Gladio Serafield clear was to try to do this a bit faster and without getting as bogged down as these guys tend to do late in the fight. As you can see, their turns are really starting to stack up on us. If you look at A and B right there, and then with the delays, they're going to keep happening. So we're going to bring Emperor in now. My hope had been that I could possibly get Krile's EX charged up in time for Squall's his burst. They actually the timing doesn't work out great here because this pushes A into the point where it charges up, and Krile's in the crossroads, so she ends up using her LD to shave, which gets a good launch, but also frames out her imperil, so the imperil's no longer on them. Looking back, I probably could have just waited a turn and reapplied the imperil, just had the traps go off. I kind of panicked in the moment. It was like, this is my window, and went for it. Ended up getting a decent burst phase, but so much less than it could have been. I actually wanted to post this run even though I made a few mistakes throughout it, partly because I made those mistakes and wanted you to see what they were like. You'll see here, in a lot of Squall burst phases, I start with the HP attack because it has the lowest the lowest floor or ceiling, whatever you want to call it. Here I actually save it for last because part of Emperor's burst is a brave refund based on the damage you deal. So I figured I should start off with my hardest hitting attack, which would then fuel my second hardest hitting attack, and so on and so forth. That was kind of the thinking there. Yeah, there are a few misplays along the way here. Pretty sad about how that whole the whole Krile Imperil thing shook out there, having to drop the LD and kind of frame out the Imperil. And you'll see it again there. I ended up doing it again. just to get the imperil onto one of them at least. The bright side, Krile's battery is keeping us pretty safe, but we go into the summon now again, like we're kind of it feels like we're kind of fighting against a tide here. See a weird little graphical glitch there where Emperor's Burst was showing as active, even though obviously we weren't able to use it again. I tried. Was wondering if I could get away with that. Yeah, we're doing okay on turns. Squall hitting the mad damage. Using Solid Barrel instead of Renzo Kukin there. Figuring I want to get their health closer to even, and he already is getting bonus splash damage from his burst effect. Speaking of bonus splash damage, here's another bonus splash. He's got some good damage on A. B, of course, as well, but I mean the splash damage on A from the LD was not bad. Squall's burst effect isn't... I'll say it isn't great compared to the other effects we've gotten, but it has these kind of weird niche cases where if you happen to have enough splash effects on the team, it works out really well. There's another bit of a mistake there. I should have used Emperor's Skill 1. I didn't use the EX again because of the Imperil, but I should have used the Skill 1 instead of the Skill 2. I forgot that Skill 2 takes 2 turns to go off, so Emperor's going to be off the field by the time it goes off. Since Emperor Friend's still a fairly popular and usable friend, I think this is those are the sort of things you should think about when you're using him. And there's a lovely moment where mess up a launch on Exdeath's return. That's it. I know I'm kind of talking, speaking kind of dismissively about how I play here. This is actually something I'm kind of proud of. You'll see Krile went down there, and based on my previous experiences with these guys, I had this feeling that, you know, these guys don't wipe out a team. What they'll do is they'll get lucky and kill one dude. So at worst case, that's what we're going to have to deal with. And so I figure, okay, well, they'll kill the one dude, and I'll just bring them back. And so I brought Aerith CA, and it ends up more or less working out for me. Probably could have used either Skill 1 or Skill 2 there. I ended up using the EX because it deals the most damage, and I figured this way, if it charges up again, that'll be another big hit I can use. Downside being excess Skill 1 falls off there. In the early and mid game with Exdeath, I find it's actually helpful to kind of arbitrarily throw out Skill 1s occasionally, just to make sure you don't run out of the buff at an inconvenient moment. Because normally you just want to be throwing out LDs, EXs, and Skill 2s with Exdeath. So if you can find like an opportunity to sneak in a Skill 1 in there just so that the buff doesn't fall off, that could be quite helpful. Because there I would have loved to reapply or reuse Almagest and get Curse on them again, but wanted to get the Skill 1 up first. And Krile here, you'll see, Revived doesn't have her LD buff, meaning Squall isn't enchanted, which sucks, and she's breakable, which sucks. So we're going to go ahead and Brave attack with Krile to avoid getting a break from that all attack. And that's going to give Squall what he needs to not actually shave this guy down, frustratingly enough, but at least put him out of kill range. You get lucky with a break there. And he still punches Exdeath, which is really rude, but isn't actually a huge impediment, because Exdeath has built-in HP regen. I should mention we've been fighting off the orb, in this case using a Porom sphere on Krile, along with Exdeath's built-in regen. So, here we go. Exdeath, Squall, and Krile close it out. Not the cleanest fight, and I kind of wanted to show that, just to show, you know, some of the goofs that were made along the way and how it still worked out quite handsomely. You'll see we made all the requirements, and here's the team we used. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Hit a like if you did. Consider subscribing for more, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Adios.